This video I will discuss about LeetCode problem number 352. In this problem, you are given a data stream. What is a data stream? Unlike other problems where you are directly given an array, in data stream, you are not given all the numbers at once. Instead, the problem passes one number at a time. For example, in this, instead of giving all these numbers at one shot, right? What we will do is one number is passed at a time. For example, 1 is passed, then after some time 3 is passed, then after some time 2 is passed. So the first problem is you have to identify a data structure in order to store this data. Which data structure to use? We have to decide that, and we will decide that in the solution. So what is the second thing that you have to do? The second thing that we have to do is to give a disjoint interval whenever the program has. For example, what is a disjoint interval? The numbers that are form continuous, for example, the difference between these two is 1, which are continuous, forms an interval. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6 and 7. Say if there was 5, all would form a single interval. Since there is no 5, there is a disjoint or gap between these two intervals, and that is how 3 intervals are formed here. Okay, so one is to add a number, the second thing is to get intervals. These are the two functions that we have to implement. So what data structure can we actually use to store this? If you have thought about an array list, very good. What can we do in an array list? Basically, we can define this, and whenever we want to insert a number, we just use insertion sort and we will insert the number. Say for example 5, we will check, is 5 greater than 9? No. Is it greater than 7? 6? No. Is it greater than 5? Simply we will insert it here so that it is stored in a sorted way in the array list. But my dear friends, here if you look, what is the time complexity that it will take to insert an element? It will take n, right? Say for example there was 0. It will take the length of this to insert a new element. But is there anything that we can use to optimize this? Yes. In Java, we have something called as tree set, which will actually store the numbers in an ordered fashion. That is an inbuilt data structure. So instead of using an array, we can use a tree set or an ordered set in case of C++ and Python. So the data structure we have confirmed. The second thing is, how do you calculate the intervals, right? For example, we initiate both left and right to 1. We then go to the next number 2. Is this equal to right plus 1? Then it can actually merge with this interval, right? Then 2, then 3, then 4 again. Then comes 6. Is 6 just 1 greater than 4? It is not. So we will just append this to the answer. Then we will change both left and right to 6. Similarly, we go to 7. 7 will be added. So 6, 7 will be added here. And then again 9, 9 will be added here. So what are we doing? We are using a tree set to store this, and this is how we calculate the intervals. And this approach is also very fine. But is this the optimized approach? We have to check that. This might not be the optimal approach, because every time we are getting asked for an interval, we are calculating every time, right? So we have to store these intervals in some form. How can we store that? If you have thought about a two-dimensional array, that is very good of you. Why? We can just use this, and whenever we are adding a new element, we will just change this. We will check, does this belong to any interval? Yes, it does belong. How do we do that? We will do that later. But can we use a two-dimensional array? Yes, definitely we can use a 2D array. But again, is there a better inbuilt solution? Yes, we have something called as tree map in case of Java, and similarly in Python also we have other solution. So what do we do here? For example, whenever a new entry comes, right, the key will act as the left interval, the value will act as the right interval. For example, let us take this as the input. Now we have to add 1. How do we add to this tree map? So there is nothing in the tree map, so we will just add 1 and 1. This will be our first entry. Then we have to add 4. What do? We check, does this have any relation with the existing values? No, it does not. So we will just add 4 comma 4. Then comes an interesting part. How do we add 2 here? We will just check the lower entry than this number. What is lower entry? It will return a key that is lower than this. What is the key that is lower than this? Is 4 lower than this? No. Is 1 lower than this? Exactly. It will return this value. What do? We check. If 2 is greater, just 1 greater, 1 plus than this number, we will add here 1, 2. This forms an interval, right? So what did we do? We get the lower entry, that is the lesser entry, and we just appended the tree map. Suppose instead of 2, if it was 3, we would not be doing that, right? It is not just 1 greater, so it will be 2. Similarly, next comes 6. 6, since it is disjoint. How do we check if that is disjoint? We will get 4, and the value is also 4, which is 2 lesser than 6, so that is disjoint from our solution. The next entry is the interesting entry, that is 3. This will actually change 2 entries. How do we identify that? We get the lower entry, that is 1 and 2, and we change, our left will be 1, right? That is the lower entry. Then we will check 2. Yes, it is just 1 lesser than 3. We can change like this. But if you look here, 4 is also there, right? So whenever we check the higher entry, that is 1 greater than, we also have to check the higher entry. What is the higher entry? The next key that is greater than 3. If they both also form an interval, we have to remove this and we will merge both of them. So here I have the code in that. If you want that specific part, this is where we actually do that, and this is the code. And what will be the time and space complexity? So we are doing it for n elements. They are passing n integers, and while log n. So in order to insert into a tree set or a tree map, we take log n time. So that is log n. And what is the maximum space? The maximum space that is completely disjoint, that will be n. Thank you for watching the video. Please do like, subscribe.